Maureen, can you hear us? She doesn't have her volume turned off.
No, doesn't appear muted.
Huh?
Maureen, wave if you can hear us. All right, Gary can hear us.
Where'd she go?
I think she may have lost the connection. So if it helps in saving time, I can say that yes, the ceremony was on Monday via Zoom, and pretty much the whole Sustainable Connecticut Committee was there. Linda Clow was there, Griswold, Mary Jo. So it was nicely attended by Old Lyme.
Awesome.
So Cheryl, I'm sorry I lost my sound for a moment. They're going to send us a copy of that meeting, right? Plus the video, right?
And there'll be a plaque sent to Town Hall that can be hung up somewhere.
Okay, front door maybe? Okay. Good. All right. So we got that. Do you want to continue on, Cheryl? You're going to talk about plan of conservation and development?
Well, I think I mentioned to you, I don't really have much to say about that. I just submitted to them that Sustainable Connecticut gave certification to the town, and they liked the POCD from 2010. So, you know, I think they're going to probably include that in the new POCD, but that's about it.
Okay, but you were invited to submit, correct?
Well, I don't know how to answer that. I emailed them and said, just so you know, we have the bronze certification. The POCD was recognized as a success story, you know, a benchmark of excellence. And, you know, you can put this in the POCD if you like. I gave them a sentence. I think a sentence or two on the recognition. I don't think it's really an invitation.
That was Harold Ross, correct? That invited you to submit that?
I think it's a little bit, it wasn't really a formal invitation. I spoke with Steve Ross. And I emailed I think I emailed Harold and Steve, and Steve got back to me. I mean, it wasn't really a process per se. It was just, here's some information. If you'd like to include it in the POCD, you're welcome to. So I have no indication if it made the cut or not.
Okay. So I don't think that Conservation submitted anything else to them. Is that correct? Anybody? Anthony, you don't know?
No, we didn't submit. I think we agreed last time that we weren't submit anything.
Yeah. Okay. So what Cheryl submitted is going to be inclusive of Conservation Commission, right?
Well, have you looked at the past POCD? I mean, it's not really structured that way. It's not like the annual report where you're reporting on what different commissions or groups do. It's it's the plan for what's important to the town via the Planning Commission. They do a lot of scrubbing of the last document to create the new document, and they have plenty of recommendations or, you know, future actions that Conservation Commission is a part of.
Yeah, I'm not objecting to it. I'm just clarifying. I think that's fine. It's a done deal now, right? Pretty sure.
I'm not really understanding. They don't really invite different. It's not, the annual report is where each commission or board submits
right
what they're doing and what they've done. The POCD isn't really set up that way, I don't think. It's more of a plan for the town, and how they're going to work on different initiatives, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we don't need to do anything at the moment. You did it and we've gone as far as we can.
I'm uncomfortable with the statement that I did something on behalf of conservation. All I did was send them an alert that we got the bronze certification.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're just stating that conservation didn't submit anything, a branch of the realm of what, we've been involved in. There's a statement that sustainable CT is an initiative that the town is taking on going forward. I don't think it relates to conservation per se, but it's just something that might be worth stating in the POCD. And without somebody prompting them to that information, it wouldn't be included otherwise, right?
Anthony, you're breaking up.
Okay.
Well, it wasn't that significant anyway, so I agree with you, Cheryl. It's not on behalf of conservation.
Okay. Just so I have it right in the minutes. That's all. So it includes conservation on many levels. The fact that the town is continuing with sustainable efforts, of which conservation is a part of.
I don't think I mentioned any commission or team or anything. It's just the town. Keep talking and I'll find what I sent him.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to convert them into the minutes of this meeting. So, all right, that's good enough. Okay. Are you still looking for something?
I'm looking for my email.
I can't help you.
Well, if you guys can still hear me, I think we kind of concurred in the last meeting that our contribution to the POCD from the conservation group wasn't that significant to the overall plan or what they were going to use. That was why we decided we were, if anything hit the headlines, it was the sustainable CT, however we want to frame it, not like Cheryl said, not from a commission or a group, but that's a town initiative going forward in the future of the community.
Okay.
Right?
I can read to you very quickly the suggested wording I had for them.
Sure, go ahead.
So it's in a section about, I'm getting a lot of feedback. I don't know if someone needs to mute or not, but the subsection about the different aspects of the town, historical significance, increase in tourism. So the wording is a sustainable community. In October 2020, the town of Oakland, can someone mute, please?
Let's see, either George, James, or Tom. We need you to mute. Or Anthony, you should be able to do that too as the host.
Okay, so here's what it says. In October 2020, the town of Old Lyme achieved certification by Sustainable CT, a statewide program that recognizes thriving and resilient Connecticut municipalities. Old Lyme showed particular strength in the areas of dynamic and resilient planning, strategic and inclusive public services, vibrant and creative arts and culture, and well-stewarded land and natural resources. The town will continue to follow the goals set by Sustainable CT and be recognized as a community of best practices. That's it.
Okay. I love it. That's good. Thank you for doing that. Good
Sure.
words. Good words. Okay. Anything else from anyone on that subject? Anthony, I'll give it back to you.
No, I think that's great.
Does everybody have a copy of the agenda?
The one for tonight?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Anthony, take it away.
Looks like we're at the end of the agenda, Maureen. This is, we're on the Events Magazine fourth quarter article for
Okay, well,
creation of,
that's in there just to say that Events Magazine will be coming out in early January. And that's all we need to talk about. And it's about our collaboration with Sustainable CT. So we have some other things to put on. When you get to that part, new discussion, we have some items for the agenda.
all right, well, current business, new discussion. We're
Okay.
there.
Okay. So Gary, you want to talk?
Sure, what would you like me to talk about?
Well, you had a message about Town Landing
Okay,
that you asked to put on the agenda.
all right. What happened up there is, you guys remember, I think it was last summer, George and myself, the two Georges and myself, took a look at some of the town landings and we found some problems up at Tamahag. Like
Yeah,
from the Diana property, that they had been throwing trees and everything blocking the trail down to the water. George James cleaned that up. Then I believe I wrote an email saying we should look into that and get some more signage up there because there was like a 6x6 plaque on the columns that said it was a town landing. I lived on Colt Lane for 8 years and didn't know we had a town landing down there. And if I ever drove down there, I would have said I'm on private property. I would have turned around and went somewhere else. So the town did a good job of making sure nobody knows where it is. And that's obviously was intentional, I say. Then I said, my suggestion was we should put some signs up and so that people will know where it is. And then it's kind of limited parking space down there. So the suggestion was we should go down there and find out where our boundaries are, put some kind of signs up so people can park in the correct spot, not trespass onto the budding owner. Well, we kind of got a nasty back from Steve Ross that said, this is my business, stay out of it, I'll take care of it. Well, just so happened, when we were thinking that when that property was for sale, the new owners may not realize there's a landing there. And then once they spend $1.25 million for the property, and all of a sudden find out there's a landing with people coming, they might say, oh, heck, it's this. And that's exactly what happened. The new owners, did I send you guys pictures?
Yes.
Yeah, the new owners put boulders across the area where you would go to park your car. And well, I won't say they did, somebody did. And then somebody also took the sign, the brass sign, might have been gold brass, I'm not sure, off of the column, and I don't know where that is. So on top of that, there's been about 3 or 4 people that have been run off of that landing by the lady who lives down there now. And so Tim Griswold and I think Ross and maybe somebody else is supposed to go down and have a meeting with her and try to get things straightened out. Then you all got the email that Anthony sent us on December the 8th. The Harbor Commission is going to speak on that issue there. My recommendation is, and after you read the harbor master's letter, he was doing everything he could to shut down Tamahag Landing. And if you read his minutes for the last 2 years, the only 2 landings that they do anything to is Pilgrim's Landing, which when I say they, but basically they tell the town, go down and cut the weeds. And Dinghy Dock, which is down on Ferry Landing, down at the bottom of the hill on Ferry Landing, there's a little beach and a dinghy dock there, which I don't know. I never knew that was a town landing, and I've been in town for many years. So, ideally, I think it's supposed to be secret just for certain people in town.
Sounds like from their letter, it's supposed to be a secret for only the people in that neighborhood up there.
Say that again?
According to the letter the Harbor Commission sent to Bonnie last year, that they said the only people that use that landing, that launch primarily are the people in the neighborhood. My question is, I'd like to see the survey that they provided to the whole community and town to see who exactly the demographic is using that landing. It sounds like they took it into their own hands to determine who that landing is to be used for. You guys hear me all right?
I totally agree with that. They also have a committee as part of that commission, which is the kayak committee, and I don't think they got any input from them. I know a lot of people that have told me they use that landing, and it is not easy to use because it is silted in. And that would be another thing that is the harbor master's job, is to keep that landing open. So he's decided he doesn't like that landing up there. Is my take on that.
Well, the other thing, George Ryan sent a letter regarding, or a link regarding the Connecticut DEP and the jurisdiction line versus the high tide line, the high water mark. And my understanding of the law is the Harbor Commission's responsibility or jurisdiction is up to the high tide line. So the parking area, the signage would not have anything to do with their jurisdiction.
I don't know. Do you know what the JCL is in that? Does anybody know what that is? JCL?
Yeah, I sent you that information 3 days ago.
Well, tell me what it is.
It has to do with the rule on the high water on the.
So it used to be the high tide line, which was the determination of where the tide is, but because of seasonal fluctuations, that changes. So in 2012, the DEP amended that rule to, there was a new jurisdiction line that was based off of, a whole bunch of inputs and surveys to determine the Connecticut DEP's jurisdiction line in intertidal zones. So a branch of that was the law that established municipalities, that gave municipalities the means to establish a harbor commission. That was in the 90s or early 90s, and that gives them jurisdiction over, as you said, the silting, the sediment, working with DEP to dredge. This is my understanding of reading the law. I'm obviously not a part of the Harbor Commission. They might interpret their jurisdiction differently, but this is just layman's me reading the law as the DEP put out. So I don't know. I read that the way I interpret it was there seems to be a disconnect between where the landing ends and where the parking for the landing begins, and who maintains that, and who thinks they're responsible for that.
Well, the Harbor Commission will tell you they are responsible for all town landings. It's not
Up to where? Up to the parking area?
Yeah,
What if the parking area is 30 feet elevation above, like at Smith Neck Road?
Anthony, I gathered that they only had responsibility up to the high water line. Anything beyond that was not their responsibility.
That was my understanding. I read their letter as, a blanket statement that landing should be, shut down as town property.
yeah,
And they're advocating for the homeowners up there, which
they are definitely advocating for the homeowner and against the other 7,000 residents of this community. You're absolutely right about that. And he mentioned that the landing is silted in. Well, he's been very instrumental in getting the Black Hall River and other areas dredged. So he's got something against that that landing for sure.
Well, I don't personally have a huge stake in it, but reading that letter as a taxpaying resident of this town, it rubbed me wrong. I thought that was, malarkey, and but is that our role as conservation to establish boundaries there, or go to battle on this?
Well, if somebody doesn't do something about it, it'll just be shut down. So it's kind of like our role as citizens to speak up for what we think. Now, I think the best chance to do that right now would be like on December the 8th, was it? The next Tuesday?
Yeah, their meeting's the 8th, next Tuesday, right?
If they have a virtual meeting or something, if we get everybody's interested in that to kind of tune in and see what's going on.
I think that one thing you have to find out is what commission or committee or official organization has legal responsibility for it. And once you determine that, then you'll have a clear avenue of what to do.
Well, the way the Connecticut law is written is that the harbor commissions of said municipalities are responsible up to the high tide line, period.
Well, maybe they don't know that because
That's what the law says. I don't know what their mission statement is. That.
but his letter was all about the parking and
Right.
the access and he did
Signage.
mention the signage and everything. So, and I can see how if they've been maintaining that. If I was the guy responsible to maintain that landing, I would be maintaining it from the sign all the way in. Even if it was, but I think you'll find that is town property, and maybe the selectmen have given the harbor master or commission, say, why don't you just take care of it for us? Because if you in the notes, the harbor master has the town public works people go down there and move stumps around, put stakes in, mow the grass, things like that. So I don't know. George Gaines, you've been around a long time. What do you think?
Well, I believe that the harbor masters have access and control except for the high tide watermark. Beyond that, they have no control whatsoever. And as a result, it was left for the open space gang to keep those places open, in fact, all of them. And nobody was particularly caring for any of them. Now, it's not, and therefore, it was my suggestion, and we acted on it, that we keep those places functional and safe as best we could. The problem with the particular one you're talking about is that we need a careful measuring of our town property with the markers going up again. And it will be surprising to you, I think, that the front of what was formerly the owner's front yard, a portion of that is owned by the town of Old Lyme. So we're not actually stuck with that particular access point. You can move that point around the corner. And if you really want to get some people excited, it would be to put the dock in there. And I don't think that's our intent. It's just that we have very few, I think there are 6 access points to the river and to the sound. And those should be preserved. I mean, there aren't that many. We're talking very few. The one, what they call the town landing is quite well, got a new covering on the road in. It's got a lot of, some asphalt anyway. And the launch point is fairly safe, although they had last time I was there, they had somebody had a big rut as they backed into the water, backed their boat down to the water. So my suggestion is that it is well within our purview to, and again, keep in mind what the Conservation Commission is supposed to be doing is making recommendations. We're not supposed to do the work. We're not supposed to tell people how they should run their things, other than they have a responsibility to make them aware of it and see that it's done. So it's a constant effort, I think. And Open Space took it on for a while, but it was allowed to kind of die out until Gary and I and George went over and did some work on it. And then we got everybody stirred up because we were doing something that they should be doing.
Well, according to the email from Steve Ross, that the Board of Selectmen has jurisdiction down to the coastal line,
Correct.
and the Harbor Commission takes it from there into the water. So as a private citizen, you can't go down there and clear some brush so you can better access the waterway that the Harbor Commission and Selectmen's Office, Board of Selectmen are not maintaining. I mean, is that, if someone wanted to access that and they can't get out there and they wanted to provide their own improvement?
Well, there is a problem. It's shallow. Tell you
It's
that.
shallow at Town Landing over off Smith Neck too. I mean, low tide everywhere, it's in the mud.
That's true.
Well, maybe somebody could explain this to me. Even if collectively that piece of property is ignored and sort of by default reverts to the owner, why are we helping that owner increase the size of that property when it's clearly a piece of public town property that taxes support? So why are we, what can we, my question is, what can we do to preserve the fact that that's a public piece of property? Lots of properties have been cleaned up. We've been working at Haynes Park to put some order to it and maintain it for the future. Why would that piece of property that you're talking about be any different?
I don't know. Shouldn't be.
No, that's
Well,
what,
if the Board of Selectmen had it down to the borderline, then perhaps the Board of Selectmen should be the ones to resolve the issue.
Well, if we provide some suggestions or some education about this piece of property, then they might be more inclined to pay attention to that rather than just let this piece of property slide away. I'm not in favor of handing over a piece of public property to a private homeowner.
It sounds to me like it's a legal issue between the town and the property owners. So turn it over to the town lawyer to let them weed it out.
You know, when I first got involved in the commission, I think George James brought in a map, and it showed that piece of property was deeded to the town some 400 years ago, wasn't it?
That's correct.
Anyone?
1701. The Lord brothers both
Right.
gave a piece of property, put it together to make that landing.
So the homeowner that sold the property knew well that that was public land. People that bought the property should have known that. Would have been a major disservice by the realtor to have kept that mum. Obvious when you pull in the driveway. So, you know, the emails that I've seen, Tim Griswold and Steve Ross are trying to work this out diplomatically and respectfully so that both the town and the homeowner can, you know, be successful here. I don't see a whole lot of way around this. If I were the homeowner and I didn't want that there, I mean, that's a pretty, you know, unfortunately they bought that and there's town landing right there, but that's the nature of it. It's not their property, it's town landing. So I'm not in favor of seeing the town just turn that over to them or to anyone. You know, it's access to the river, which is more important as we go forward another 300 years. So I think the only thing we can do, as George has mentioned, is provide some recommendation and advocate for, you know, a conservation of that piece of property. They have a meeting on the 8th. So we log on to the WebEx and hear what they have to say about it. I think that piece of property is going to be in discussion.
Well, and I would say before that, we should write a letter to them so that it's not easy to them for them to pass over what your recommendation is. So the letter should come first before appearing at their meeting. So that, first of all, then you're sure to be put on the agenda. That's the important place. Hold a spot for you.
I agree, Maureen. It's a letter to the select, describing our position and describing what we think of the letter that Steve Ross wrote.
What's the date on that, Anthony, the Steve Ross letter that you sent around? It doesn't have a date on the page.
December 1st. Okay, so the email was December 1st. The letter that was attached to the email was sent to Bonnie at her request to help come, and this was back in 2009. There is no letter on the email. Sorry, 2019, 18, I believe is when it was.
Oh, okay. So we know it's not
I just
a
made
recent
that up.
letter.
No, it's not a recent letter. It was from a couple of years ago. So this has been, this was going back. All right, well, I'll put a letter together. I'll pass it around the group for input and edits, and we can get that submitted, you know, sent to them by the end of this week.
Do we know who the new owner is?
Public knowledge, I don't, but we can look it up.
Well,
I'm sure if you go park there and use the landing, you'll meet them.
yeah, an encounter.
I have the name if you're interested.
Well, just curious, because they bought it from Diana, correct?
Well, her estate.
Yeah, okay. So what's the name, just for the record?
It's Carla Darista and Frank and George Frampton.
So is there any indication of why that piece of property or that family should receive favorite consideration? Favorable?
Absolutely not.
It's an upscale community, Maureen.
Yeah,
Yes, I
another-
read that at the beginning of the letter. In other words, that makes it different.
Yeah. Like screw all the rest of you guys that are not
Upscale
at
residential,
upscale, right?
yeah. So we can make our
Exactly.
own rules.
I got some comments I'll give you. Anthony,
Yeah, off the
before-
record, maybe.
Before, no, I think that could go in his,
In his
I would
letter.
suggest that goes in his letter.
Okay.
Mildly subjective adjective to be using in a formal letter.
Well,
other
the
thing-
fact that Phragmites are present there, that's something that can be taken care of, just like we've been doing at Rogers Lake. And access may be something that could be, you know, on foot traffic or non-motorized boats. Could mean that there'd be another place for people to park or to access the water, not parking on the people's lawn. So both of those things could have a solution. But my, even though I don't understand the whole issue, I just am irate that this piece of property could revert to an owner, a private residential owner, and nobody comments on it. Not
Well,
even
that's-
paying for it. They're not even paying for it.
That's
So
what-
why would that slip away from us? I just can't see it.
That's exactly what they tried to do. They pulled the brass sign off of the column out there, so nobody would know it was a landing. I mean,
Right.
that is so egregious. I'm vibrating when I think about it.
Yeah, I can see
I
your
could-
head vibrating.
I
So-
could trip out, if you know what I mean.
I can
PTSD.
understand somebody not wanting traffic on their property or parking on their property, but that has a solution.
It's not an ideal scenario for the homeowner. I mean,
Okay, Anthony, you're in charge of the letter.
that's
And
what it is, you know, it's unfortunate.
There's actually a lot of parking room there. And the opening is like between 50 and 40 feet wide all the way down there. So right now, there's only a 10-foot wide road in the middle. You took the weeds and the stumps out on both sides, you could line cars up on both sides of that.
Right, because the
property.
area of the property would allow that. The way
Yes.
it's shrunk down now, of course, it looks like it's not possible, but that's only because of, planned, what would you say, planned obsolescence of the piece of property.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
mean,
Frank, it's all yours.
One other comment on that letter that the Ross wrote. It's not dated. So, I don't know who writes a letter, doesn't date it, but he didn't.
Well, it's not dated, but it's addressed to Bonnie.
Yeah, so
So
You
that
got it.
helps to put
we
it.
got an idea, yeah.
Correct. Yeah, okay. Okay, so Anthony, you got the deadline, you've got the,
Yeah, ASAP. We're gonna make that happen.
okay,
And I urge everyone to brush up on the crushed tire athletic track field if you have the capacity.
Yeah,
It's interesting stuff that we don't know about, just like everything. We have a habit as a society to introduce more and more hazards into our daily life without knowing the long-term ramifications. So
Well,
I
my
have-
concern is that there are two boards of education in the state of Connecticut that voted down that type of field because of the medical implications. And nobody in the town has raised that issue. There's been no public meeting, but I know there was one public meeting. I think there was a virtual meeting. But there's been no public meeting to discuss it or anything else. It's like it's all on the table. There were $2 million, which the Board of Education has saved for the fact that they think that they get the money, they get the responsibility, they can lift the contract without the town having a say, doesn't work too well with me.
Anthony, and all my comments on that, the high amount of money involved and the environmental discussions, if you will, tell me that we need to have a town meeting.
okay.
I don't disagree. I agree with you, George. It sounds from the article that I read, I don't know I haven't been involved in this too deep, but it sounds like they've had this quiet plan and been stockpiling money for this specific venture without any public opinion, or as quiet as can be.
You got it.
Again,
What can we do
another
about
sneaking
this?
Sally through the alley doesn't sit well.
Well, and
We'll write another letter.
as far as I understand, there's a group of, 150 residents that have signed a petition against that because their homes are in proximity. And of course, their kids will be out playing on it, and combined with parents of kids from the school.
I've not seen or heard of that.
Okay. So what's the proposal for us? To do something? Do nothing?
So I think
One other comment I got now, if that stuff is environmentally a pollutant, would it run over the hill into the wetlands behind the school?
Well, that's part of the issue too, is the runoff and the movement of that material too.
I mean, if it does, then you got wetlands people involved in that
Right.
decision. Even though it's 500 feet, it's still, if it's upland and it's a problem, it's still a wetlands problem.
the engineers designing the track will tell you absolutely not. But you know, you can read the testimonials across the country where this stuff does do such. And then what? Then you buy more.
Right.
You build the track again.
Yep.
So what's the action for us?
Well, I think we have to dip our foot in this one. At least to be part of the conversation, and to, if there's not a conversation happening, that maybe help facilitate one.
Anthony, were you gonna speak? Did you say you were gonna speak to 2 years old about something else?
George, I have a hard time hearing you.
Sorry about that.
That's better. So can
Anthony,
you-
were you gonna speak to Tim as well on another issue? Because I was thinking if you were, you can ask Tim, are they planning on having a town meeting on this proposed field before they go ahead and approve the money for it?
I have just two questions, and one is whether Tom has any thoughts on the issue of how long is the maintenance required, if you have any information on it, and the possible hazards for the health of particularly the goalies, from what I understand, because they are located in one spot, not running around. The chemicals that are emitted from the surface on a hot day are there. That's the guy who is going, or girl, who is going to suffer from it. And this whole issue of the dangers of health has, to my knowledge, have not even been suggested. But from all my readings, there has been a lot of question, particularly as you get down south, the temperatures rise, and there have been serious injuries to the goalies particularly. And the only other thing is anything that lasts just 15 years around here is and has to be replaced with another $7 or $8 million is not a very smart move. Swamp Yankee talking.
Aren't we all?
I know.
Tom, you got any info?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
I know I'm not a part of the commission. May I make a comment as a member of the public?
Sure.
This topic has been public for over a year. There have been public forums. There have been meetings. It's been on the Board of Ed agenda many, many months. There's been a town public meeting. It's been covered in the CT Examiner for well over a year. And I think they're voting on it tonight or very soon. So I would just suggest if the Conservation Commission wants to have a stand on this, like it has to be pronto because this has been going on for quite a while. You can go to the Region 18, the school system website, and they have a whole page on the turf field, and Inland Wetlands has already approved it. I mean, it's gone before zoning. So it's been in the process for quite a while. So I think if you if you have an opinion on this topic and you wait a month or anything, it's too late. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I would reiterate what Cheryl just said. So this has been around for a long time. There's been a lot of debate about it. There is concern about the health issues with the crumbled rubber. And the trick is, when you look into it, a lot of it's kind of anecdotal. It's hard to find some very hard science that says that this is harmful to health. So we could try to go down that rabbit hole, but you're right, we're latecomers to this because this has been debated with facilities for 2 years now.
Well, all right. We'll stick to the town landing. I don't think it's something that we shouldn't, just because we're latecomers. I found out about this in the Examiner article that got forwarded a few weeks ago. I don't have kids in the school system. I'm on the periphery of the town, so I'm not down at the athletic fields paying attention to what's going on down there. It's just because it's not something everyone in town is aware of doesn't mean it doesn't still pose concern. But yeah, are we going to make a difference at this point in the game? I mean, if this is already past zoning and this is already approved by XYZ, then people we can handle.
Yeah, you'd really need to amass quite a body of evidence at this point, rather than, again, as I say, there's a lot of anecdotal stuff floating around, but what you'd have to do is find a couple good studies and say, this has been researched for 20 years. This is what they're finding. There is problems with it. I think we should consider alternatives. And there are some alternatives, expensive ones, though. If the issue is the Swamp Yankee one about the cost goes up exponentially if you go with another system. So.
Well, and I just looked up online when the meeting is of the Board of Education. You're right, it's tonight, 6:30.
So we keep our hands off and sit back and observe and see what happens.
I guess so, because it's too late to act for this meeting tonight. But I'll find out what the minutes are and we can take a look at those. I can forward the website after those are submitted.
When I did the research on it 6 or 8 months ago, there was very little I could find of any substance. And there had been, and what there was, everybody was going, yay, Verdi, this is better than sliced bread and free liver. So, but the discussions have been kept on the low ball, so nobody really was aware of it except those that were directly involved. They've kept it, this is one school project that kept very, very quiet. Some people should go to work for the United States government. And my recommendation is we discuss it. Let's take care of what we can take care of and move on.
Well, it's something to pay attention to going forward. We'll see what they do at this Board of Selectmen meeting tonight. We don't have any other new topics to discuss, right, Maureen?
As far as I know, we've covered it all.
Okay.
Okay, so as far as that turf goes, I'll send you the link to their meeting minutes tonight, and then we can put it on the agenda for next time to see where it goes, decide how we participate.
And I'll get a letter drafted to the Board of Selectmen regarding the landing, and I'll pass it around.
Yep. Okay, so we've only got a week to do that.
Yeah, I'll get that done by Friday.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
all
if
right.
we don't have anything else, I got to run, so we can adjourn.
Okay, so 7:36. A motion?
A motion.
I will second it. I will second
Okay.
it.
All right.
Maureen, have a good safe trip, all right?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. God, God in heaven, protect me. Don't let a terrorist carry me off as an abduction. Okay. So I am going to, FYI, in the bottom of these minutes tonight, I'm going to put the connection in for the January meeting. Okay. So it's going to be a little awkward for me to get to that just before the January meeting, but I'll be back for it. God willing.
Stay safe.
Have a good one.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, everybody. Okay.
Have a good trip, Maureen.
Merry Christmas. Happy
Merry
New Year.
Christmas to all.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Good meeting. Thank you. Okay.